Everybody, welcome. This is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. This is Thursday, January 16th. We are live from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas. Just like always, we're on 98.7 Walk by Faith in 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation, and we are all over the internet and all of our social media pages. So, man, we almost made it through another week. I hope you guys have had a great week. It's about to get cold in Lubbock. I think it's about to get cold all over America. But my sister-in-law told me today Denver was looking for 3 days of sub-zero temperatures headed their way. So it's hope you got your stuff stocked up and got your firewood ready and ready to stay warm out there. So what we got headed towards us tomorrow. I think it's supposed to be 40 in Lubbock and then 25 on Monday or something like that. So cold time of year. And it's a cold time of year. It's a good time to eat good food if you're going to eat food. You probably don't need to eat any food. You probably got enough stored away at this point. You could probably just go for a whole week without eating anything. But if you're going to do something like that, make sure you check with your doctor or whatever. Make sure you're healthy enough to do that. I'm sure all you guys that listen to this show are healthy enough to do that. Tonight, I got like 5 or 6 different things I want to talk about that are conversations that we had during the week. I want to continue. I guess, first of all, I should apologize to all the social media people out there and to the radio people, really, because I was not prepared. It's 100% my fault. I was not prepared for a power outage. And that's what we had last night. We had a power outage right at the end of the first segment of the show. And the whole building went dark. It was really funny. I was sitting here looking at my laptop. I lost the internet for a second, so I lost the show. So I had to connect it to my phone, a hotspot, and then get back on the radio with you guys on the radio. And then all you guys that watched it on social media, it just disappeared. So I apologize for that. And I'm gonna work with my man Zay, and he's gonna hook us up on a UPS, uninterrupted power supply, I think is that what they called it. And so that way it won't happen again. We'll have it backed up and we won't have that problem again. So we're going to get together and figure it out and solve that problem. And that way, if they want to turn our power off, we'll just keep talking. And because some of this stuff actually might change your life, you know? So I apologize for that last night. But we went through some things, and it was hard to do on the radio. But and I didn't have any notes. I was literally sitting here in the dark last night. I mean, it was like boom, and then it was dark. And then I was like, all I could see was I had my phones and I had the light from the screen of my laptop. And then the rest of the building was completely pitch black. And I was like, okay, well, we'll just work through it. And that's life, right? Sometimes it doesn't go like you planned it to go. Sometimes, some days it just doesn't work out as good as you wished it would. And you just got to work through it. It's just like, hey, we just throw an interception. You just go tackle the guy and just get on back to the huddle and just run another play. You know, just go to the sideline, let the defense play. I mean, it's like, what are you going to do? It's just play the next time you get the ball, just play the next play. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're just going to play the next play. So I do want to go over some of that stuff with referred pain and all that. And I want to talk about a little bit of that and kind of continue with what we covered on Tuesday and a little bit into Wednesday. So that's the agenda for the show tonight. If you've got a question and you want to text me, 806-794-0400 is our text line. I'd be glad to talk to you. Please, if you got something, send it to us. And let me check something right quick. And if you want to leave us a message on social media, please do that. And because we'd be glad to answer any of your questions. So I really do mean that. If you got something on your mind, and I don't have to bring it up, you can just say, hey, keep it private or whatever. I don't have to bring it up to the whole world. I could just answer it back later on. But I think it's if you got something that's bugging you about health and wellness, let me know if I can answer it for you. I will. So, all right. I was going through some slides, and I saw this slide earlier today, and I thought, it's a little bit embarrassing to put on there, and I know the radio people can't see it, but just in case, sometimes you just got to be honest. And this is a slide right here of basically it's just me and before and after fitness. I talk about it all the time, and I don't know if I showed you guys these pictures or not, but and they're not my most, I'm not it's not the proudest moments of my life. Kind of got away from me, really, to tell you the honest truth. I did not realize that this was the case, but I got a picture here of when I was at my 30-year high school reunion, and I had such weird interactions with my classmates. And I just thought, I don't understand why everybody's treating me weird. And then when I got home, I saw these pictures, and I was like, well, that explains that. Like, they haven't seen me in 30 years, and I was about 100 pounds more than I was 30 years ago. And so that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to start. So if you guys are on the radio, you want to go to the Walk by Faith Facebook page, you can see these pictures, and it's on there. If you're gonna, but you can come to the Rock Health and Wellness Center and see it as well on Facebook. But that was me, and when I saw that picture right there, I just could not believe it. I was just like, oh my gosh! Like, I did not realize I had gotten that. I just didn't realize I'd gotten that heavy. So it's 283 pounds, and I put sorry, I put it right here. It's damned embarrassing. It was, but it was also a ticking time bomb. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh, but it was completely reversible. That's the one thing that we just don't think about sometimes about health and wellness. And I went from 283 pounds in that was the July 4th weekend of 2019 to coming back August. I started CrossFit and nutrition like I was supposed to be doing. And by March 6th, 2020, I was 233 pounds. That's 50 pounds. And I've still got more to go. And I'm working on different kinds of diet now that I haven't had any sugar in 3 years. And I'm working on some different things. And it's kind of it's kind of funny how it's kind of waving through the wintertime. And I'm learning some things about that. And I'm working on some of that myself. But this is 283 pounds to 233, and just a totally different dude, right? This picture of me in March with my daughter, one of the father-daughter deals that Kyle Mega had at Texas Tech. And if you look at this guy versus you looking at this guy right here was like about to die. Like, he was a ticking time bomb. There's no telling all of the negative things that were going on right there. But it's totally different now. And it's pretty much stayed right there all this time. So that's why we created the Rock Fitness. That's why we created our gym, and that's an old picture of our gym. We have a new gym now at our office. We teach fitness classes in the mornings at 6, 7, and 8 in the mornings on Monday and Thursday, and we've got a 2:30 class on Monday and Thursday afternoons. And it's about working out, doing high-intensity fitness exercises, and then we use the in-body scanner for body composition. We have a shop with the doc where we go to the grocery store and we talk to you about nutrition and things that you can handle at the grocery store. We also use our blood work stuff to measure our 6:3 ratio along with it. So that's our Rock Fitness program. And I know some of you guys started a program at the new year, and it's kind of this time where you're kind of like, well, am I still doing it? Is it working? Is there anything, am I missing something? Or you didn't start and you wish you did, and you wish you had some place to go, and you wish you had someone that would care about you enough to make sure that you did better. And if you're interested in something like that, and you live in Lubbock or surrounding areas and you can get here twice a week, then let us know. If you don't, and if you're somewhere else and you want me to try to help you with a fitness program, then I'd be glad to do that too. You can call the office or send me a text or something like that, and I'd be glad to try to put something together for you based on all the stuff that we've done here and and kind of take your own personal thing, put it together, and we can help you. We can help you be fit. And that's like, you can completely reverse chronic disease if you just will get yourself going. It's that simple. You can really, really just get yourself going. So thought I'd share that with you. If you're interested in it, please let us know. Next thing on the list was saw a patient today. Hadn't seen her for a while. She's having trouble with her shoulder. And so I thought I would just share this one with you and just talk about the shoulder for a few minutes, because she's been dealing with shoulder pain since June of last year, trying to work through it, do all kinds of different stuff, and we kind of we didn't 100% alleviate the shoulder pain, but we probably made it 90% better in about 10 minutes. And that was work. We probably made it 50-60% better with one adjustment. That's how quick it went. And then we just did a couple of other things, and then by that time it was like back. And so I just wanted to share how your shoulder works and let you see a picture of it, so that you would kind of have an idea of what's going on there. So this is very, very common, and you may be having some shoulder problems, and you can have shoulder problems, you can have chest issues. There's a lot of stuff that can be going. You can have neck things, you can have numbness and tingling in your hands, and all this stuff can be coming from your posture and your forward head posture and the way that your body is functioning. But the big thing right here is what I want to show you, and is I want to show you how, like, and this picture. Let me switch it for a second and move it over there, so maybe you can make it a little bit bigger. This is from the back. So this is your shoulder blade, right? Or your scapula. And that's that bone. Everybody knows what your shoulder blade is. The back there on the back of your shoulder, right? There's a bone right there. And that bone, we call that the spine of the scapula. And that there's a bony ridge on the back of your scapula. And then it comes around, and it's got this little piece called the acromion, and it's that little piece there comes forward. So it goes from the back, and then it comes right above the humerus of the arm bone, and right above that whole shoulder joint, the ball and socket, and it's kind of like a protector of the top of the shoulder. It's a piece of bone that goes forward, and then on the front, it makes a joint with your clavicle. So your collarbone, if you touch your collarbone and you follow that collarbone all the way out to the end, you'll get to that acromion and that collarbone, and that's called your AC joint right there. That's the joint right there that quarterbacks separate when they get tackled and driven into the ground. That's the AC joint, okay? Which I've got lots of experience with. But what I want you to see, and let me bear with me for a second, because I've got another. I had it pulled up, and then I had a little glitch. And let me see if I can pull this. Maybe the reason I didn't re-pull it up, because I think it was the glitch. But give me 1 second, because there's a picture. No, let me tell you what. I'll do it this way. Bear with me. I had it going, but sometimes I don't know if you guys have ever pulled something up and then it made your cursor turn into a plus sign, and then you couldn't grab it. I'll just look this muscle up for you, and then I'll show you a picture of it, and so you can kind of see where it is. Yeah, that's a great picture right there. This comes from dailybanda.com. And I don't know, they look like maybe they're, I don't know if they'll, I'm giving them credit for this picture, dailybanda yoga.com. Let's see. So, but this is a great picture of it, and I just want you to see it so you can kind of understand it. But I give them credit for it. I don't want to get in trouble for it. But right here, there you go. This is the acromion. There's the spine of the scapula, and there's the acromion process that sticks over. So if you just put your hand on your shoulder and you feel that bony part at the top of your shoulder, that's the top part I'm talking about. That right there is that acromion that's on top of you've got soft supraspinatus muscle that kind of goes along through there, and then all of a sudden you'll hit a bony point, and then you'll go past it, and you'll be right on the tip of your shoulder, like your humerus, your arm bone, right where your shoulder joint is where you'll be when you fall off of there. Okay, that's the supraspinatus muscle right there, and it runs underneath that acromion process, and that what happens is when you raise your arm up and you get to about 90 degrees, you've got to rotate that shoulder blade. This whole shoulder blade has to rotate. The bottom tip of the shoulder blade has to go lateral, out towards your arm. It rotates like that. And when it rotates, it gets this acromion out of the way. So now when you're raising your arm, it gets that little bone that's sticking across there out of the way. Otherwise, you jam your supraspinatus tendon into that little process right there, that bony part on the top of your shoulder blade. When you raise your arm up and you get about right there, it'll jam. And what you will get is you'll get tendonitis, or after a while it turns into tendinosis, but you'll get inflammation right there in that tendon that is right on the top of that shoulder joint. And then it'll hurt every single time you raise your arm up. And it's just something that the cause of it's being caused from the fact that the shoulder blade is not moving properly through its proper range of motion. So if you've got shoulder pain, your shoulder hurts, it's not working properly, and when you raise it up, you get it to about right there, and it's like you get just past midline, and all of a sudden you start to feel that pinching that's in your shoulder, and it's like, it hurts to bring it on up. I can't get it to raise any further because it just hurts right there. And then it'll start to ache, and then it'll ache right there, and then sometimes it'll ache around on the back, and sometimes it'll start to run down your deltoid muscle, which is right there, and just run right down the front part of your arm. Sometimes you get your bicep tendon involved in it, and there's just some issues right there, right? So here's a little bit better picture of it. There's your shoulder. You get that pain that's running into your arm, okay? So why does that happen? Not what, but why. Why does it happen? It happens because posture and neurology and muscle function are just wrong. You've probably we start up here at the brain. So it was really cool. So she said, I'm having all this trouble in my shoulder. It started when I was lifting weights. I just can't, it hurts when I raise my arm up above there. It hurts right there in that spot. She kind of went through exactly what we were talking about. And then I checked her posture, and she had a head tilt that was away from the shoulder problem. So she was standing there. You just close your eyes, just shake your shoulders out, stand right in front of me. And then she had this head tilt that was going like that. Well, what does the head tilt mean? The head tilt means that the occiput has slid. So I'm doing this backwards. The occiput is slid up on the atlas, and that is subluxated, our word that we use all the time. It's interference in your nervous system. So you're sitting there, and you've got this head tilt, and you got this shoulder problem. Sorry, you got this shoulder problem on the other side. And it's like, what's going on? Well, one of the things that's going on is your spinal accessory nerve is getting impinged around that whole section right there. The nerve supply to your trapezius muscle that has to do with the rotation of your scapula is subluxated. So I laid her down on the table and I adjusted her occiput, and then I stood her back up and I said, "Can you raise your arm?" And she was like, "Well, I can, that's better, but it still hurts right there." And I was like, "Okay." So I laid her back down on the table. We did a couple more adjustments. We adjusted the rest of the cervical spine. I worked on her shoulder just a little bit. I did some soft tissue work and then got her up. And then, "Can you do that?" And then she was like, "Oh my gosh, like it's like all the way up now." Right. And that whole thing took place. It didn't take literally 10 minutes. And she'd been dealing with this pain in her shoulder since June or something. And she told me, she was like, "Well, I'm not even going to tell you how many Advil I've taken since June." And I was like, "Wow. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad we could help you." And she's a really cool lady, and her husband's a cool dude, and they got cool kids and all that stuff. It's like, but she just kind of forgot, right? And that's kind of what I told her. I said, "Yeah, that's what happens when you get out there in the world. When you get out there in the world with all your friends and nobody understands what's going on with your shoulder, and you talking to your spouse or whatever, you tell your spouse your shoulder hurts, your spouse doesn't understand spinal accessory nerve and trapped muscle and rotated clavicles and scapulas and all that stuff, right? They understand banking and truck driving and ranching and farming and all that stuff that they do that I don't understand anything about." So you ask them, and then you ask your friends, "Man, my shoulder's been bothering me." And then you tell your kids, or you tell your, whatever your thing is. And it's like, "Hey, what if you called your chiropractor and ask him to help you with your shoulder?" Like, that would be a cool idea. So there's your shoulder. There's 40 muscles in your shoulder. They all have to function properly. Your frontal lobe has to function properly because your frontal lobe is going to inhibit those flexor muscles, your SCM, your pec, your bicep, those muscles that are related to your shoulder. You got to get your brain working. You got to get your occiput set properly on your atlas. That's your skull setting on your first vertebrae. And then you got to get nerve function, the subluxation removed. Just think about that. Pain. What was she going to do? She was going to go to the medical doctor. She's going to say, "I've been lifting weights and I hurt myself in June and my shoulder hurts right here." What's the medical doctor going to do for her? Probably some sort of anti-inflammatory drug or painkiller or something like that, right? Maybe we're going to send her to physical therapy. Maybe we're going to get an MRI on her shoulder, and then go through that whole process, right? That's what you're going to do. And in the office, we solved that problem in less than 10 minutes. Instead of going through all that toxicity with ibuprofen and acetaminophen and all that stuff, and all that time spent going through all that and doing an MRI and spending all that money and doing all that stuff, it took 10 minutes to get her shoulder to function better. It's like, wow, that was pretty easy, right? So I guess the advertisement is, if you got a shoulder problem, then holler at us. Like, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you could do, but we got it. It was like, man, that would be the first thing I would do. First thing I'd do is call my chiropractor. Kind of like my girl yesterday that hurt her knee. First thing she did was call her chiropractor. And then we went from there, right? Okay, last thing before I leave this slide, there are nerves that control the muscles of the shoulder. Nerves pass through the shoulder to control the elbow, wrist, and the hand. So you can see the picture here of the nerves exiting the spine through the shoulder, down through the elbow, and to the hand. Like all that stuff moving down there, right? So you get numbness and tingling in your hand, your little finger or into your index finger or something like that. It's like now your hand's not working. You start to lose strength in your hand. Can't get, all those things that happen. And that's one of the things she said. She said, "I got no strength in this shoulder at all." She said, when I pull with the other shoulder, I can pull great. But when I pull with this shoulder, I got no strength. And I'm like, yeah, because it's not functioning properly. Your brain is shutting off all those muscles to your shoulder because your brain is like, dude, you're going to tear this thing up. You're going to tear it up if you keep pulling on stuff. So what does your brain do? To protect you, your brain just shuts off all the nerve supply to that shoulder, turns off all those 40 muscles, and then all of a sudden you're just like a mess. You can't do anything with your arm. And in 10 minutes, bam, your power's back on, your subluxation's free, and you're free to go. So there you go. There's your shoulder for you. All right. We're almost to the break. So before I get into before I keep going and get into what I want to talk, the rest of the stuff I want to talk about tonight, we'll just carry us on to the break. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, hate, love, what does Ken say? All the above, right. If you got anything you want to talk about, you can send it to us. We're going to take a break here in 20 seconds, and then we'll be back. We're going to talk about inflammation, and we're going to talk about spinal nerve function, the spinal nerve function chart that we kind of went over with the guys on the radio last night. But I wanted the people from the social media to get to see it too. So we'll be right back. You guys stay with us. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people hurt their shoulder and go through a lot of things. And that reminds me, I need to check on my knee, lady. We'll just do that right now and check on her and see how her knee's doing. Maybe she'll answer us back before the night is over. Let's see what we got. Does chiropractic service help one with arthritis? Isabel Dotson. Yes, ma'am. But we don't treat arthritis, right? And first of all, so let's break that word down. Artho means joint and itis means inflammation. And this is coming off of the chat line right there. So you've got inflammation in a joint. So what causes inflammation? And that is exactly what we're just about to go over. That's the next slide that I have right here pulled up and ready to go, which is the next one, right? And so, yes, do I treat arthritis? No, I do not treat arthritis. See, if you really understand it, what I treat is subluxation and the cause of subluxation, interference in the nervous system. That's what I treat, and I work on health and wellness. So disease processes, what diagnosis and all that sort of thing, that's what the medical doctors want to do. That's the whole pharmaceutical thing, the way that's built. If we can say that you have arthritis and make you believe that you have arthritis, then I can give you a drug for the rest of your life, an arthritis drug, right? That's the way that works. But what if we just eliminated your joint inflammation? And we're gonna go over that right now. You bet. Thank you for the question. I really appreciate that. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. And let me see. How's my lady doing? I am much better, exclamation point. Still taking it easy, but a friend bought me a walker, and I'm getting around very well. I can go without the walker, but still sore. Okay, great. So, all right, fantastic. That's good news. All right, so we got a question, which it was perfect timing, actually. So thanks for the question. But we got a question that is, does chiropractic services help with arthritis? Well, this is you couldn't ask a better question at a better time, actually, because this was the very next slide that I was going to put up. And I'll actually switch it so you can see it a little bit better. But sorry, see what I mean? Like this, I don't know, maybe you guys can explain this to me. If you can see that little plus sign, my cursor is now a plus sign. I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, let's talk about this. Okay, arthritis is arthritis. Artho means joint. Itis means inflammation. We just talked about raising your arm up and smashing that tendon and getting supraspinatus tendonitis. You get inflammation of the tendon of the supraspinatus when you jam the humerus into that AC joint, or that acromion right there, right? Okay, so what is one of the things that would cause inflammation? Well, that's trauma right there. So this little slide that I had ready to go is, I had a slide right here wanting to talk about some of the things that cause inflammation, because on Tuesday night show, when we went over opioids, we were talking about the chemistry around the receptors that was starting the process of the 4 steps in pain, where we actually took the receptor to the spinal cord to the brain, down to the modulation, and then perception, right? We took those 4 steps. And so we were talking about the inflammation and the chemistry, the prostaglandins that were, and the leukotrienes, and the chemistry around that nerve ending that causes that pain, right? Well, arthritis is no different. Arthritis is inflammation of a joint. It's not degeneration. I don't know of anybody else in the world, and I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, and I'm sure there's people that would agree with me somewhere, but you're not going to hear this from anybody else. And I'd be willing to bet you that all of you that have heard me say this 8,700 times probably in the last 16 months, you probably are like, he's the only guy that says that. And I'm like, yes, I don't know of anybody else that says it, because everybody else doesn't want to get technical enough, and they don't want to, they'll just use that word arthritis. They'll say it like it's a thing, like it's real, like. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think that you can get inflamed joints? 100%. You can get inflamed joints. There's no question whatsoever that your joints can get inflamed. And when your joints do get inflamed, they hurt really bad. No question, no argument whatsoever. But to me, that is a transient thing. It's like, there's light in this room, but if you turned off the light, there would be dark. It'd be dark in this room, just like our show went last night. It's not, right now, it's evening time. It's dark outside, but tomorrow the sun's going to come up, and then it's going to be light outside. It's easy to say, well, it's dark. Well, it's dark forever. No, it's just dark right now because the sun's not hitting us. But when we spin around and we get back to the sun, it'll be light tomorrow, right? Arthritis is the same thing. You got arthritis in your shoulder. Okay, well, fine. You got arthritis in your shoulder. Let's get it out of your shoulder. What is arthritis? It's inflammation. All right, what causes inflammation? What are the things that cause inflammation? Okay, here's some of them. We'll just start over here. Free radicals. Free radicals are little molecules that are missing an outer shell electron. They're really mad. That's one of the things that's made inside, like mitochondria, makes free radicals. If you take bad fish oil, you'll get free radicals. Like there's lots of sources. You can look it up. Reactive oxygen species are free radicals. They're little chemistry. It's chemistry right there. that causes that, right? Your 6:3 ratio. And I didn't write this. This is Dr. Murphy's slide. The omega 6:3 ratio right there. Leaky gut can cause inflammation. What do you mean? I mean, the lining of your intestine has epithelial cells, columnar epithelium, and there's held together with tight junctions. And if you treat your gut, if you mistreat your gut, what you will get is you'll get a separation of those tight junctions, which will cause a leakiness of the gut. Now, particles of food that are not supposed to be in the body, like if you guys ever eat corn, you might pass corn, right? You might have seen that before. Or if you were to swallow a penny, you would pass a penny because it's not supposed to be in the body, right? Well, if it's not supposed to be in the body and it gets in the body, what the brain will do is it will identify it, and a lot of times it will send it to a joint to put it in jail. It's like jail for your body. You seen these people's got these big old knuckles and they got these deformed fingers and all that sort of thing? Okay, that's inflammation process in that joint. And a lot of times, the leaky gut has a lot to do with what has happened right there. Okay? So that's another reason. I don't know, RSI. I don't even know what he means by RSI. I have to look that up and see what he means. The next one on the list is infection. Okay? So you can get infected. You can have a joint that's infected. You can have some sort of virus that's in your body that can give you, or a bacteria, like, I don't know, what is it, like lupus or something like that. Like something that you get that would get in your joints that would make you have inflammation. Trauma, obviously. Obviously, you can, you cause some sort of trauma to the joint. Like we were talking about with the girl raising her arm up and she's jamming that's trauma up to that supraspinatus tendon. Or maybe you lifted a couch and all of a sudden, bam, you smashed the disc or you jammed your hip or whatever, right? Whatever your thing is with trauma. This is a blood work thing. That's a chain, like that's balancing of your blood work. The next one is chemicals, and the next one is glycation, and that's where you actually, like where you're taking sugar. There's a process that goes along with sugar that causes that right there. So all of those things, you've got all of these things out in nature that are inside your body that can cause inflammation. So if you've now all of a sudden you've got inflammation in a joint, then you're going to go to your doctor, and your doctor's going to take an x-ray of your joint. And when your doctor takes an x-ray of your joint, they're going to look for degeneration because you can't see the arthritis on the x-ray. You see degeneration on the x-ray. If you say any changes of bone, any changes of cartilage, any changes to the structure at all, what you'll say is they'll say you've got some arthritis in your shoulder or you've got some arthritis in your neck. And it's completely false. You've got some degeneration in your shoulder or your neck. And I can't stress that enough. And then they'll tell you, okay, well, you got arthritis in your neck, and here's your anti-inflammatory or whatever to try to stop the issue with that. In the chiropractic wellness world, at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and a lot of other chiropractic wellness guys around the world, and a lot of wellness guys, period, and gals, they're going to try to look at all these things out here and solve these problems. And then when you solve these problems, now all of a sudden your joint pain goes away. And your joint pain goes away, and it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Do I still have arthritis? No, you do not. You don't have arthritis anymore. You had arthritis last week. You don't have arthritis this week. How does that work? Is that even possible? Is that real? Like, are you serious? Yep, I'm serious. Like, there's things that you can do. Now, what I wanted to talk about tonight, and so I hope that, let me click back over here. Isabel, I hope that answers your question. Does chiropractor services help with arthritis? Yes, from a nutrition standpoint, from a movement standpoint, to get that joint moving through proper ranges of motion, from a neurological standpoint, to make sure your posture is proper so that you quit putting the trauma on the joint, right? You want your brain to function properly so the joint will function properly, so it decreases the trauma to the joint and decreases the bad chemistry to the joint. You also want the chemistry of your body to change by getting your diet proper and making sure that you stop eating the things that we always talk about, like high omega-6 foods and seed oils and all that stuff, which is high omega-6 food, right? Processed foods. Last night we talked about red dye number 3 or whatever, right? Yellow number 5. All those things that are toxic to the body. Those are all things that that we would work on in our office. So yes, absolutely. But do I treat arthritis? No. And when you come in and I do my examination, is my diagnosis going to be you have arthritis? Absolutely not. Never has been and never will be in my practice. I'm in my 20th year. Not one single time in my 20 years have I ever put arthritis on a diagnosis form. Never. Never put it. Never. Not going to. Don't do it. Do I put subluxation? Yes, that's what I put because that's what I treat, right? So yes. But let's talk about what happens once you get this inflammation. Once the inflammation is now going on in the body, that's not the end of the story. That's just like the middle of the story. There's another stage and another stage that goes down from that. It doesn't just stop with inflammation. Okay, well, I got inflammation. Okay, what are you going to get next? Well, here you go. Now you start getting fibrosis, scarring, granulation, amyloid, tau. You start getting physiological changes in the tissue itself from the inflammation. Now we've got this inflammatory environment. Get inflammatory environment in your brain and you'll get these type of things like amyloid and tau. And there's things that you can get degradation of the disc. You can get degradation of the bone around the joint. You can get eating away at the bone around the joint. Right? There's lots of bad things that happen when a person's inflamed. But one of the things all those things lead to is stiffness. And so if you've got increased inflammation, there's a really good chance that you have increased stiffness. And increased stiffness is going to mean a decrease in movement. And a decrease in movement is this mechanoreception right here. And this mechanotransduction. So what is, let me just show you because this is the what I had for my notes for this show before I move along. Let me just show you what I got right down here. Okay, talk about the 4 steps of pain. All right, the first one on the list is transduction. It's mechanotransduction, right? That's what we're talking about right here. We're talking about a decrease in this beginning phase of transduction of the proper movement of the joint itself. So we get the leaky gut because we've eaten processed foods. The leaky gut causes inflammation. The inflammation causes this fibrosis and scarring and all that sort of thing and leads us to stiffness. The stiffness causes us to decrease our movement of the joint. And now what do we get? We get compromised mechanobiology because now this transmission of the joint to the brain changes. So it changes at the joint level and it changes at the brain level. And that's why I'm always trying to go back to the same thing over and over again, because it doesn't matter how far we chase it down the road, every single road that we chase this down, just if you just turn back around and follow it back down, it's going to come down to the same 4, 5, 6 things, almost 90% of the stuff, right? 90% of the things that we deal with, they just come right back to eat well, move well, think well. They just come right back, as Dr. Chestnut said, they just come back to, are you giving the body the proper fuel that it needs in order to function properly? Are you moving the body properly like you need to? Are you getting the sleep? Are you doing those things? It's like these few things that you need, fuel and activation, as Dr. Fraley says, like those little things that we need, they just come back. They just come back, and it's like, okay, I see that. Like trauma. What does this do? Trauma to the shoulder, okay, leads to inflammation in the shoulder. Inflammation leads to decreased range of motion because it's stiff. Decreased range of motion changes the mechanoreception and the mechanotransduction of the shoulder, which now changes the input to the brain, which now changes the entire shoulder joint activity. It's like all that stuff happened because her head was tilted. Her head was tilted like that. Like all the downstream stuff happened because we were subluxated. Look, I understand it sounds really simple. And sometimes you think maybe I'm just making it too simple. But I gotta say, it's not my fault. It's not my fault that I'm one of the luckiest dudes in the world. Like, that I get to work. When I say I get to work on the most amazing system in the universe every single day. And it's not that complicated. It's like, wow. The girl that left with her shoulders, she was so happy when she left. It was just like, I can't believe in 10 minutes you took away the pain that I've been dealing with since June. Now, look, it doesn't always happen that quickly. Sometimes it's a little bit more of a process. Sometimes we got to work through things. And can you be too far gone? Yes, you can. Sometimes you can be too far gone. Mostly in your brain, but sometimes in your joints themselves. Sometimes your degeneration in your joint can be so bad that it's causing chronic, constant inflammation and joint malfunction and joint mechanobiology and all that stuff. And yes, now that person would probably qualify in the take an X-ray and yes, that's it. But we've done it on the show before. We've gone through X-ray after X-ray after X-ray of degenerative spines that have no pain. I've seen it for 20 years. Thousands of X-rays over a 20-year period of time of degenerative spines that have no pain in the degenerative area. You can't marry those two things together. If you do, in my opinion, you're not trying very hard. I'll just say that. You don't really care that much, and you're not really trying very hard. So that's that. So let's move to another one, because this is something that you might not have seen and might be interesting to you. And this, you guys on the radio, you're going to have to bear with me. So we got about 7 minutes left, and we went through this last night on the radio, and I just want to show it to you because you might not have thought of it. Like maybe you didn't think of your shoulder and chiropractic working together. Maybe you didn't think of what someone told you was arthritis and chiropractic working together. So what at every one of these segments of your spine, and you got 24 vertebrae, you got 7 cervical vertebrae in your neck, Then you've got 12 thoracic vertebrae. That's where all your ribs are connected. You got 12 sets of ribs. You got 24 ribs. That they're all connected to the thoracic spine. And then you come down to the lumbar spine, and you've got 5 lumbar. So there's 5 lumbar and 7 cervicals, which makes 12, and then 12 thoracic, and there's your 24. Now you got your occiput, and you got your sacrum, you got your coccyx at the bottom, and so you can, depending on how you look at it, even some people call the sphenoid bone an extra vertebra, but this is the common one that everybody kind of knows, all right? Every segment of the spine has a nerve that exits off of that segment, and that nerve comes out of the spine and it splits. We had it drawn up last night, and I don't want to pull it back up, but the nerve, when it exits the spine, it splits. And part of the nerve comes around to the front of the body, and part of the nerve goes around to the back of the body. And so you get supply from the spinal cord to the tissues in the front of the body and the organs and that type of thing. You get supply to the muscles, usually in the back, from the other part. So you got the same nerve going, right? But what are some of the places that these nerves supply? Because you might not have thought about it, okay? Intracranial blood vessels, eyes, lacrimal gland, parotid gland, scalp, base of the skull, neck, muscles, diaphragm. That's the C1 through C4 section of your spine. And in that C1 through C4 section, some possible symptoms might be like headaches or migraines or dizziness, sinus problems, allergies, head colds, fatigue, vision problems, runny nose. I adjusted a guy yesterday morning. He fell backwards. I told the radio guys this. He fell back. He was working on an engine. He was pulling a crate, and the crate broke. And when the crate broke, he fell backwards. And he tried so hard not to hit his head on the ground that he strained his neck. And he said, I've just been off, and I've had a headache, and my eyes are not right, and all that sort of thing. And he came in. I went through some range of motion with him, working on his neck, and then I adjusted his neck. And he's like, oh, well, you must have hit that one right, because now my eyes are straight. And I made the joke about Cousin Eddie and the kids. His boy fell in the well, his eyes went crossed, and then he got kicked in the head by a mule, and his eyes straightened back up. Yeah, I think that's hilarious, by the way, but that's kind of what this guy fell backwards, got his eyes crossed, got adjusted, his eyes straightened back up, right? Vision problems are one of the things. Do I treat vision problems? No. I treated the subluxation in his neck, and the subluxation of his neck restored proper nerve function to his eyes. Runny nose, sore throat, stiff neck, cough, croup, arm pain, hand pain, all that sort of thing. Tingling, asthma, heart conditions, high blood pressure. Those things are related to this cervical spine area, this thoracic spine area. Arms, esophagus, heart, lungs, chest, larynx, trachea. How many people have acid reflux problems, and you've been told that the reason you have acid reflux problems is because you have too much stomach acid, right? When everybody should know that you are supposed to have stomach acid, but you're just supposed to have it in your stomach. You're not supposed to have it in your esophagus. And so if your esophagus, if the little flap on the top of your esophagus is not closing properly, you'll get acid in your esophagus and it'll burn like crazy. But it's not because you have too much acid. It's because the acid's in the wrong place, and maybe it's because you're subluxated. That might be one of the reasons, right? You have interference in your nervous system. You move down here into T4 through T5, 6, your gallbladder, livers, diaphragm, stomach, pancreas, spleen, kidneys, small intestines, appendix, adrenals, colon, uterus. All those areas right there have nerve supply. Okay? Wrist, hand, and finger numbness, pain, middle back problems, congestion, difficulty breathing, asthma, blood pressure, heart conditions, bronchitis, pneumonia. All those things can show up whenever you have thoracic subluxations. I'm a living testimony to that right there. Used to eat Rolaids all the time for acid reflux. Started getting my thoracic spine adjusted. Didn't take Rolaids after that. Had Rolaids one time since March of 2000. thanks to my brother-in-law, Dr. Housewright. Yep. Okay, lumbar spine, 5 segments, large intestines, buttocks, groin, reproductive organs, colon, thighs, knee, leg, and feet. Anything down there, anything that's going on in that low back pelvis area. So constipation, diarrhea, gas pains, irritable bowel, bladder problems, menstrual troubles, low back pain, those things are common when you're subluxated. Menstrual troubles if you're female, right? Okay. And then L5, get into your sacrum, you get into reproductive organs, bladder, prostate gland, legs, ankles, feet, and then you can have all that trouble related to them. So just thought you might want to see that page, spinal nerve function chart, because sometimes we don't realize how many areas of our spine, we don't realize that every single cell and tissue in our body is under the control, either directly or indirectly, of our nervous system. The healthier our nervous system, the healthier our body. The sicker our nervous system, the sicker our body. That's how that goes. Hey, that's all I got for you tonight. That's the end of it. So, hope you guys have a great evening. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6. If I can do anything for you, please let me know. And otherwise, we'll talk to you tomorrow.